Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Sudhir Chaturvedi and I'm delighted to be joined today by an amazing guest, someone I've been looking forward to talking to. Nimish Mehta is the Executive Vice President and Chief Information and Strategy Officer of National Life Group, one of the most innovative and fastest growing life insurance companies. Nimish has been a client with us for over 20 years. He's seen many parts of our journey and I can't wait to talk to him about our AI-led journey together.
Let's do that. Thank you.
Hey, Nimish, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for
Great.
the lovely introduction.
Yeah. No, my pleasure. Always great to talk to you. So Nimish, let me dive in. Let me give you an easy one to start with.
Okay.
Right? So tech spending went up 7% last year. It's going to grow up 8% this year. The amount of capex being spent is ridiculous in some senses. Boards are asking, where is this money going? What's happening? They're still not seeing it in the P&L. How do you see it?
I know. I figured, everybody has the show me the money question, right? That old movie adage. I think there's a level of trying to figure out how and where this ROI tends to manifest itself over time, right? We got to figure it out and where it is. And I think there's a way and place this is happening. A lot of companies are looking at democratizing AI, right? And that's happening at every level of the organization at the bottom where people are learning, using. You're seeing some efficiency gains. You're seeing it, pick a number from 1 to 30. It'll show up. It'll show up somewhere, and it'll show up in the P&L too, but it'll show up slowly, right? And then they'll plateau out, and then they'll ask you again, now what? And then there's bets we're placing from the top that executives are saying, look, we need to do 2 or 3 different big bets and see what's happening, but that takes time. That's not going to happen overnight, right? So I think where you'll really see the P&L show up and the ROI show up in the P&L is when these two things collide. Because when we have a whole bunch of bottom-up, you got execution without strategy, and bunch from the top, you got strategy and no execution, and I think that collision will be where the money shows up.
Great. So, the other thing that's like top of mind, especially for the people in the industry, is the fear about jobs, right? I mean, a lot of the narrative is around how AI is going to replace jobs. What's your thought? How are you looking at it?
You want the standard answer or you want the other answer? Because the standard answer is, if you don't learn to use AI, you won't have a job. Right?
I know what you mean.
We can go there. But it is kind of a little bit on the scary side, right? People are thinking about this. And I think the way I've been talking to our teams and talking to your teams and everybody about this is more around, look, I think this is if you go to an economic class, it's a 101 supply-demand equation problem, right? Before, there was a bunch of demand, and we just didn't have enough supply to keep it up, right? And so we were struggling. Now, suddenly, AI has showed up and created capacity. And the question is not whether we need less people, it's like, what are you going to do with that capacity, right? So with great power comes great responsibility. So we're in that position today, and I think finally, the demand curve and the supply curve have caught up, and it's almost like the dog caught the car, and now we don't know what to do with it. So I think this is an endless supply problem, and I think that's a very different way to look at this equation than I'm going to lose my job.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'll just borrow your spidey sense to say that, when we see clients, traditionally, when you look at that whole iceberg diagram that people see, we usually just look at the thing that we see above the iceberg, above the water, the iceberg that we can see, and then address those problems. But with AI, we can go much deeper. We can start to address much more of the problems in a more efficient manner than we perhaps were able to do before.
Totally, and again, the patience part shows up. Like I look at this and I say, I think it's like a hockey stick curve, right? It's going this way and then it will shoot up. Yeah. So the people that are part of that lower journey of the hockey stick, and that hockey stick is getting longer and longer, it sometimes looks like a broomstick. So are you going to be at that part when it kicks up? And the people who are there when it kicks up are the ones that will really see that difference, that can address the things that you talk about that sit behind the iceberg.
I really like that, I know you're talking about ice hockey here with the longer thing. But, I think when we look at the AI spending and the landscape that's happening, a lot of this is also being driven by the tools that are being released, and they're being released at a record pace. And one of the questions we keep getting is, what should my tool strategy be, especially given how rapidly this landscape is changing and almost changing on a month-to-month basis? How do you look at it?
Well, do you want to have a debate on ChatGPT versus Claude, or which debate do we want to have on tools, right? Because at the end of the day, Is it a tool problem, or is it a problem, or is it a solution looking for a problem?
Right.
Right? At one point, we have to learn to differentiate between the two, because tech is changing really fast. Right now, I could tell you Claude's better than ChatGPT at something else, and Llama's better than that, and one day, the next day, the curve will change, and one will become better than the other. But really trying to clearly define the solution that we're trying to create and trying to get ahead of that. So that's another hockey stick, hockey game analogy, is how do we get where the puck is going? Yeah. And I truly believe that rather than trying to figure out the tools, we have to start figuring out what problems don't exist today that we have to solve. And I think this is where it gets really interesting for me, is what problems these tools are going to create that we have to solve.
Okay, of course.
Because there will be some things that we haven't even figured out yet, right? And that's going to happen
right.
too.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because, we keep telling clients that I think look at it as a architecture problem, right? Rather than a tools problem. If you're rightly architected, the 3 layers, 5 layers, 7 layers, you pick whichever version works best for the organization, whether it's the infrastructure layer, the data layer, the orchestration layer, the integration layers, the layers that clients are talking about. What we think is that, have that foundation be strong in the organization, and then the tools just become part of the landscape. Is that how you're thinking about it?
Completely. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah. I mean, let's just go back and rewind in time and go back to your first question of ROI. Yeah. Right? If I asked you this question about data 8, 10 years ago, nobody wanted to invest in it, right? It was this amorphous thing. Yeah. Data is the new oil. Put money into it, and suddenly you'll have this let's not talk about oil prices today because that's probably not a good thing. But just think about if you had not invested and people did that and went through the data journey and really got to where they are 8, 10 years later, they can really harvest what's going to happen in the future. And I think that's where it's not a tool competition. It's not trying to figure out, but it's trying to figure out that foundation that's going to get you to that place. Yeah. And next thing that AI shows up on top, do I have the right foundations to take advantage of it? Yeah. And do I have the right talent? Because I think there's not just a technology issue that we're looking at, it's also a talent. So which one can keep up with it? Because if the talent goes up faster than the tech, you have a problem. If tech goes up fast and there's no talent behind it, if I say charge and I look behind and there's nobody there, that doesn't help me. So I think trying to keep these two things in balance is how we'll end up staying ahead. So then we talk about tools, right? At some point it's a Chevy Ford debate and there's no winning in this. But let's just go with the car example and let's talk about Henry Ford. Henry Ford, if he asked his customers what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Yeah. And right now, I think with all the tools in our hand, we're building faster horses. At some point, we got to design the car. And I think AI is not going to design the car, people will.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more with you on that. I think one of the things, that we're always told that some industries sort of, are ahead of the curve when it comes to tech adoption. Some are behind. The insurance industry typically not seen as a leader in this space. How do you see it? And, given how well NLG is doing, the speed that the pace at which you're growing, what's different with NLG on this front?
I think I first want to set some of the debate on this straight, right? I think insurance companies are seen slower because of not just the regulatory landscape around it, but just the life of the decisions we make. In our industry, I could make a decision that's going to last 80 years. Yes, of course. So I got to think about what I'm going to do, and I will be probably wrong, but I'll be directionally right. Right? So I think that's where we are in the shape of this. But when it comes to AI, I think we've been given almost like this magical thing that allows us to get out of this landscape of conservative thinking and think about how we can do things that don't have financial or regulatory impact in a better way. So I can componentize things that I can move fast, and I can move fast at an incredible pace. So I think I look at it as this is an opportunity.
Wow, I love that answer. So, Nimish, AI, it's in everybody's thing. Is there something about it that keeps you up at night?
There are so many things about AI that keeps me up at night, right? I mean, I could go on and we could write a book on this one. But I think the biggest thing I start to worry about is really, as you look forward, AI is almost like a drug. Right? At some point right now, people are funding it and it feels like it's almost free. There will be a time in which you have to pay for it. And it's not the payment that keeps me up at night, but it's the impact of the infrastructure. Right? who's going to produce
Yeah,
the electricity?
that's
Who's
right.
going to do all this stuff?
Yeah.
And when it comes to being real, will we be able to keep up with it?
Yeah. What's the one metric that you're using at NLG for measuring success in AI?
Absolutely. I think there are two metrics, but they're kind of intertwined.
Okay.
One is give me speed, the second is give me capacity.
Right.
And you noticed I didn't say ROI.
I like that. I think that's more measurable, frankly, and it will directionally lead to ROI. I'm pretty sure about that. What's the, we've got the audience, would love to understand with your experience and, the amount of, you've seen various waves in this industry, right? Different technology waves in the industry. What's the one trait that you would advise, a new generation of tech talent that's coming in to acquire?
Number one, like everybody is afraid of this thing and they're excited by it. I mean, I go back in time and again, I try to study history. So one, you try to repeat it and sometimes you don't want to repeat it. Yeah. But think about the time when tractors came out. Mm-hmm. Farmers thought their business is dead, right? Yeah. And we have more farming today. Yes. ATM, same story. Yeah. Email came out and somebody said that they won't have a job. So everybody thought that something is going to change the world. But as we think forward, I really want to let people think about this as don't be fearful. You just got to try it and don't worry about the consequences. The consequences will follow later. Yeah. And we are so worried about building the seatbelt before there's enough traffic on the road. Okay. I said, let's get the traffic on the road first.
Yeah. Great. Nimish, such a pleasure. Really enjoyed interacting with you. I'm sure the audiences will learn a lot. Thank you so much for your inputs. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. It's been a great 20-year journey. God.
That was such a great conversation, such a different perspective to some of the key questions on all our minds today. Join us at NTT Data. Follow us for more such interviews and more such inputs in this ever-changing world.